I think EA Sports, we've always lived by if it's in the game, it's in the game, and I think that's what's helped us become so successful in the sports genre.
It's about that experience. It's about having that really compelling sense of competition with friends. And we like to think we've delivered a great way to do that.
And to me, this is sort of where we're drawing our line in the sand and saying we are moving towards a simulation model. We want to encourage people to embrace the chess match of the game versus figuring out how to exploit your opponent by doing silly things with the controller. It's really important for us.
The living world is a pillar. All of the games in the sports label are working toward initiatives that create a full atmosphere. Everything we do is about an emotion or an experience or some feeling that we're trying to convey to the fan.
When people think of lifelike, they think of visuals, but we must remember that lifelike is also how people react and play. The players are going to think differently and they're going to feel like they would think in real life, and then physically they're going to react differently. You're going to see hundreds of different shot types that makes it feel like it's real life, and then it's just going to look stunning. So you've got the brains, you've got the physical, and then you've got the stunning visuals.
The next-gen consoles give us more horsepower, more memory, so our AI can make more decisions per second. We can give them a wider variety of strategies, game plans, if you will.
So, just throwing more horsepower at the game doesn't necessarily get you where you need to go. Actually, the foundational piece that we started almost 2 years ago is getting back to using the real world of football rules. And one of the ways we've done that is bring in a bunch of former football players.
My name is Clint Oldenburg. I'm a former NFL offensive lineman, played in the NFL for 5 years for 6 different teams. We built our next-gen game on 3 pillars. Living world, true player motion, and human intelligence. And the war in the trenches, which is offensive and defensive line, that falls under the human intelligence pillar. So really where we started was to make our guys smarter. We have 4 times the calculation power, so these guys know where they need to be, who they need to block, and how to form the pocket. I'm a sim player. I like to see in our game, what I see on Sundays, I like to see what I lived when I was a football player. So when I came here, that was my first goal. The power of the new consoles and the Ignite, we're able to kind of make that even better.
We've made a huge focus on play calling. Basketball, I've always felt, has been play calling's been very underutilized. So what you'll see with us is we actually have gone through and we have all authentic sets for what players actually run on offense and defense. So if you're running Tom Thibodeau's defense, it's going to be completely different versus Mike D'Antoni's. A lot of that stuff is going to be contextual, so you can basically just call up your menu, run the play, and they're going to do it. But there's also quick plays, so you can say, just send a player on motion or send on cut. So you're not actually getting into the entirety of the set, but it is teaching you how to become a better basketball player, and you can either run down to the absolute offense your team runs, or just a few one-offs.
I think the culmination, obviously this year, really is a labor of love over the last 6-7 years of a lot of guys on the team who are passionate about football. And this year, with all of that horsepower and all of the new CPU cycles that we have with the console, we're able to figure out what's actually about to happen in the future and process the game a little bit forward to have a reasonable expectation of whether players are going to collide. And the reason we call it instincts is it gives them that instinct on the pitch. If you're about to collide with somebody, that you can jump out of the way, or you can avoid them, or you can hop over an outstretched leg, or you can understand where they are and do something to grab them.
I mean, this being our first ever, official EA Sports UFC game, it's a big deal in a lot of ways. It's also the first time we're making one on next-gen consoles. And there's been a lot of guys here at EA Canada that have been training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now for about 1.5 years. One of the things we learned was that, it's not as simple as I'm going to press a button and guess what, I'll have you in a fully extended armbar. The thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it's a sport that you can do with your eyes closed because you can just feel your opponent's leverage, weight, balance. We can't give you any of that tactile sensation. We can only convey to you what's happening through visual. So you're going to have independent control of your hips and whether to scoot, or shrimp it to a different side or move this hand or that hand. So we want to bring that actual technical battle, the technique of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and showcase that a little bit more in what we have as sort of more stage-based submission battles.
That tie between basketball and culture is such an important thing. We know those go hand in hand. It's one of those unique sports that the players are larger than life, literally. they're these giants.
Everything is down to the absolute pixel of what they're going to have. We actually had Damian Lillard in the office, and he had a new tattoo of a torch out of the back of his arm. It's the first thing we do. Start taking pictures of it, put it right in the game. So, culture-wise for us, everything, we're all sports fanatics. It's all about authenticity, and that's been the way since the creation of EA Sports Day 1. So we are completely, almost slaves to having everything being exactly right to what the player looks like. We do full facial capture and scans with some of the stuff you'll see. It's amazing the fidelity we've gotten to.
We can really show off how a player will react to a play, or what his signature look is. So like an example would be Kyrie Irving. We've nailed every little expression, nuance that he does on the court. If he's like licking his lips as he's dribbling the ball up the court, or after a made basket, what's his look when he looks at as defender? It's like, I just burned you, all right, I'm gonna go burn you again.
Bringing a game to a new platform is clearly, when you're a developer, one of the coolest things that you can do. We're going to 1080p, which is again a huge step forward, and we're doing it at 60 frames a second. So we obviously have higher poly models, we have higher detail models, we're now simulating cloth, we have different facial animations, we have particle effects, so you see grass flicking up as you're kicking the ball.
First and foremost, FIFA is a great game, and I think that if you stripped it all away, soccer is just a really simple game. I mean, it's 11 guys trying to pass the ball into a net. So that's a really easy concept.
And the way we try and make the game more fun and ultimately more engaging is try and get deep down into the details of every little nuance of the sport. If I play a long ball through the air, the way that ball travels through the air is a lot more realistic than it was in previous years. That translates also to shooting, which is the pinnacle of the game and the most exciting thing that we have in the game. And we're getting a whole lot more trajectories, swerving balls, dipping balls, low rising shots, things that we couldn't actually create in the game in previous years. We're getting those this year because we've gone for the realism in the ball physics code. So we strive to get realism in order to get fun. So you'll see new things in the game this year. There's somewhere around the neighborhood of 20% more animations in this game than there is in the previous iterations of the sport, and that gives you new behaviors, hundreds of new ways to do little things.
It all finishes with the goal, but before the goal, there's the atmosphere, there's the crowd, there's the audio, there's the interaction on the field, there's the physical nature of soccer, and then there's that playing against your buddy, going back and forth, the battle, and then the goal. And once the goal hits, it's a celebration, it's the crowd noise. Nothing feels like a FIFA goal.
The EA Sports Ignite engine is actually a collection of the best-in-class technologies from throughout the EA Sports organizations. And essentially what we're doing is we're leveraging each other's strengths to create the best sports games imaginable.
We try to be photoreal first and foremost. But what we realized after the Madden 12 cycle, what's authentic is not always what looks the best. What's the use of having beautiful models with really detailed textures and very complicated lighting techniques up close on the surfaces of things if a camera is very far back?
My name is Victor Lugo. I'm in charge of a group called the Character Interaction Group, and also the group that brought the physics to the game. We've introduced a new concept called Force Impact to our physics system this year. It basically allows us to perform interactions that are harder. You're gonna see harder hits, you're gonna see better dive tackles. And when these things happen, there is no animation involved, so it's a purely organic interaction.
Really conveying the sense of contact, force, pressure from a design standpoint is something that is never really been done exceedingly well, and that's something we're really focusing on for EA Sports UFC, which just brings the realism to a place that we haven't been able to attain in the past. Certainly guys like John Jones, you're going to want to see them doing oblique kicks, spinning back elbows, all that kind of stuff, and making sure we do the mocap and put that in game so we have the moves that you expect them to do, but also give them the AI game plans so that they will make similar decisions that you would expect them to do in real life as well.
I'm really good at the games. Not too much online. I mean, playing against like 14-year-old boys doesn't work out too well for me. But fighting against me in the game, I'm sure it's not going to be an easy task. Everything that goes into the game is so real, like using real strategy. I think that's why I'm so much better than a lot of my friends, is because I'm an actual fighter. So I understand strategy, when exactly I need that takedown, when I need that big head kick, using angles and things like that.
What we've done at EA is we've done a great job of individualizing the player experience. 10 years ago, it was soccer. I don't watch it. My friends don't watch it. I didn't play it. The rules seem kind of funny to me, and I don't know why games end in ties and why that's exciting. Accidentally, we have wound up becoming one of the key education tools.
We have a hand in helping to grow the game in North America. There's millions of people that are playing the game all the time, and we're reaching those people and we're finding a way for them to unite through FIFA. Because we've built a good game that is popular and fun to play, we're bringing in a whole lot of new people that really hadn't experienced the sport and giving them an opportunity to understand what's going on around the world.
And just with next gen, just improved technology, more powerful technology, we're able to do stuff that we just weren't able to do in the past.
And for us, that's it's been fun to be on the kind of the cutting edge of that. Is always what's the next big thing and what are we pushing towards? I feel that we make better fans.
There's no reason why this brand shouldn't be used as a way to increase people's knowledge of the game.
Ultimately, people want fun playing games. If you can deliver that, people that maybe don't always watch your sport will start to gravitate towards it.
We're at a place now where, it's night and day. Even looking at the same game here on the Gen 4 hardware against the Gen 3 hardware and the same product we built, and just seeing how much further you can stretch the technology, it's very exciting. We're going to be in an awesome place by the end of this console generation.
Teams left teams fleeing from the market. Got styles that spark the mind and brain. The lines I'm saying and saying yours are nothing plain. Like what you saying.
You are not only smoking tobacco. You are smoking the passion and the pleasure of the people that are involved in that process.
Actually, the foundational piece that we started almost 2 years ago is getting back to using the real world of football rules. And one of the ways we've done that is bring in a bunch of former football players.
My name is Clint Oldenburg. I'm a former NFL offensive lineman, played in the NFL for 5 years for 6 different teams. We built our next-gen game on 3 pillars. Living world, true player motion, and human intelligence. And the war in the trenches, which is the offensive and defensive line, that falls under the human intelligence pillar.
I think EA Sports, we've always lived by if it's in the game, it's in the game, and I think that's what's helped us become so successful in the sports genre.
It's about that experience. It's about having that really compelling sense of competition with friends, and we like to think we've delivered a great way to do that.
And to me, this is sort of where we're drawing our line in the sand and saying we are moving towards a simulation model. We want to encourage people to embrace the chess match of the game versus, figuring out how to, exploit your opponent by doing silly things with the controller. It's really important for us.
The living world is a pillar. All of the games in the sports label are working toward initiatives.
And it's just going to look stunning. So you've got the brains, you've got the physical, and then you've got the stunning visuals.
The next gen consoles give us more horsepower, more memory, so our AI can make more decisions per second. We can give them a wider variety of strategies, game plans, if you will.
So, just throwing more horsepower at the game doesn't necessarily get you where you need to go.
That create a full atmosphere. Everything we do is about an emotion or an experience or some feeling that we're trying to convey to the fan.
When people think of lifelike, they think of visuals, but we must remember that lifelike is also how people react and play. The players are going to think differently and they're going to feel like they would think in real life, and then physically they're going to react differently. You're going to see hundreds of different shot types that makes it feel like it's real life, and then